get them to creep up on the watch time a little bit. We ended a reel with blackness that we let last like 1 extra second longer just because some people will watch it. And why not 1 second times 100,000 views?
Welcome back to Business Talk, a short-form video marketing podcast. I'm your host, Austin Armstrong, and on this show, I interview the best content creators and entrepreneurs that have leveraged short-form video to actually drive leads and sales. In this podcast, we deep dive into their tactical strategies so that you can get actionable takeaways. You can connect with me across social media at SocialtyPro. Today's episode is sponsored by my company, Syllabi.io. Syllabi is a one-stop shop for video marketing on social media. From finding trending topics your potential clients are asking online, to generating you video scripts, creating AI videos with real clones, a built-in video editor, and even direct publishing to your social media accounts, Syllabi's got you covered. You can get started today with a 7-day free trial in the show notes. Let's jump into today's episode. Today's guest is Owen Hemsath, aka Owen Video with Accelerate Us Media. Owen is an award-winning YouTube strategist and high-performance coach for the nation's top companies and business influencers. Owen has been called a pioneer on YouTube and is considered the leading expert on YouTube for business and revenue generation. I have personally hired Owen, as well as his amazing wife, Teresa, to help me on my YouTube journey. He is just such an incredible, inspiring guy. Owen, thank you so much for joining me today, brother. It's always an honor.
That was the best introduction I've ever heard in my life. And that's not an affront to the last podcast host I was on. I'm telling you, that was good. That was so good. I'm pumped to be here, bro. Thank you for having me. We don't get to talk. We talk a lot online in comments back and forth, but I'm really excited to dig in with you on this topic that we're both passionate about and that we're both really playing leadership roles in short form video in terms of really national thought leadership. So this is going to be a good conversation.
Yeah, it sure is, man. I have looked up to you for so many years. I've seen you speak at so many events. I'm so glad that we've gotten to connect over the last couple of years.
Oh yeah.
I want to take it back to your beginning, before becoming an entrepreneur, before getting into video. I know you have an awesome story. You've been fired a million times. What was that early life like for you before you actually got started?
Yeah, man, I was really sort of lost in America trying to find my way. I was sort of an overachiever in high school, athlete. I was an athlete. I was in student body, and I was in the high school drama. I was like leader of all the play. But I had sort of a falling from grace, and I got into some bad habits that led me down a wrong path. I got thrown out of high school last 10 days, and last time that didn't end up graduating, and it just kind of like all my friends went off to college, and I kind of woke up in the middle of summer like, whoa, what's going on with my life, and what happened? I was on a trajectory. So, I got into food service and waiting tables, and my goal there always was to meet someone who could elevate my status. My goal was I had a plan. I was going to be a waiter in high-end restaurants, and I was going to meet the people that ordered the bottles of champagne and had the private rooms and stuff like that. And so I went on a journey where I was waiting tables for a long time, but going off on side projects with people that I would meet. And this took me into some really exciting places. I went into telemarketing. I got into timeshare development. I got into even loans and the financial business, which I saw as so volatile. This is right before the 2008 crash. I saw it as so volatile at that time. It got me interested in real estate, but I stayed away from the mortgage and financing, which is I'm really glad I did because so many of my peers in that space just like crumbled. So I got my hands involved in so many things, and before I knew it, I had a whole bunch of these business skills. And I think one day I woke up and I was like, it's time for me to put these skills to good use. So I had been waiting tables at a restaurant at a very lax schedule, but I was also selling really high-end home remodeling and big $45,000 projects and whatnot. And one of these big projects that I had sold, we always did video. We always did sort of media and graphic. I always had that love and that passion. I was a high school theater guy, so I was kind of doing video and sort of those skits and things like this. But I had this set of business skills and I had this set of creative tools. And I thought, I think I'm worth a lot more money than I'm making here. And that's when I began my journey into entrepreneurialism. A friend of mine offered me sort of a retainer. He just gave me money. He was like, here's money, come work for me, and we'll figure out the rest of your life from there. And that began sort of this sort of ragtag entrepreneurial journey where I just began developing skills and using them for whatever I could use them. I didn't start my own company until I would say 2010. And that's when Video Spot began. That was our first company where I was like, I can make more money for myself than I can by being hired out as a consultant from these other companies.
That's awesome. And I want to dive a little deeper in there because I think you said a really core thing that's going to resonate with a lot of up and coming entrepreneurs, or maybe people that haven't pulled that trigger yet, is that intrinsic motivation and knowing and trusting that you are worth more than your current situation.
Yeah.
Self-reflection is so important to motivate us to get to that next level. When did you first notice that thing inside of you that you knew that you were destined for something bigger than the situation you were currently in?
I remember being in an office space. We were doing big things. I was working in a call center and I was managing the call center. So we had a lot of different clients. And one of those clients was Ron Paul, or the Ron Paul organization, right? This was back in, I want to say 2008-ish. So he's kind of a newer name. A lot of us are familiar with Rand Paul, his, I believe his son, and as a political figure, very independent. This was during like the Ron Paul re-levolution. So there's a strong vibe in Orange County where I was growing up. And I looked around the room and realized that I had trained the people that could potentially elect the next president of the United States. And that's when I realized that I was swinging below my belt, or like, you know what I mean? Like I was punching below my weight class and I needed to find something bigger. And that began the sort of the chase for what does bigger look like. And even now, Austin, where I think that we're both very much on top of our game. There are fewer people that compete in what we do at our level. And yet still having the discipline to ask ourselves, is this it? Right? Like, I'm very happy, I'm content where I am. But I'm also driven by this question of, is there more? Just like I was fed up in the job scene, am I worth this much? I'm in this place now where it's like, I think we're worth even more. I think we could do even bigger. I think we could impact people that could change the nation. And so our appetite has become more than new customers. It's been like game changers. We want to find the people that are going to cause ripples and disrupt things. And we want to work with those people into that next level. So it's like more than just get customers. Let's get these customers that really want to break stuff and make noise.
I love that, man. I'm so motivated by that too. Sometimes I think like how high can I get before I fly directly into the sun and burn?
Yeah.
I haven't hit that threshold yet.
You know what I find when we do that is you find that the sun's a lot farther away than you think.
True.
You get up there and you're like, I could go higher than this.
Yeah.
And this is something that I experienced a lot with cancer, because I'm largely a pretty like safe conservative guy, right? Like I make wise investments. I can get a little crazy here and there, but I never lose more than I budgeted to lose. You know what I'm saying, right? Like I kind of am that guy. But my cancer story. I fell into a season of a terrible diagnosis. It took me 2 years to reverse that diagnosis and become cancer free. And I did that through alternative therapies. I did not go the mainstream way, and that was very challenging. You get to this place where you're like, can I do that? And then you do that. Can I only eat vegetables for 90 days? And then you do that and you're like, well, I wonder if I could do a water fast for 7 days. And you do that. And next thing you know, you think, well, am I getting to the sun? Am I getting to my limit? And the higher you go, the more you're like, I think I could handle more than this. And so that's what I love about entrepreneurialism, is that there's this natural drive to compete against yourself and to see how high you can go. I think when I got rid of the comparison, thing, which we all go through. We all go in and out of it. It's always a thing. And you can't help but be like, oh man, like that dude's crushing it right now. Like, you know what I mean? But getting into this place where I'm no longer really like, I can celebrate your success without feeling like it affects mine. You really get into this place is like, how much revenue can we do? How many salespeople can I train? And how many people can get results without me being involved in their account? And that's the part I love, is waking up with a new challenge to defeat, a new dragon to conquer.
So good, dude. And yeah, you are a warrior. Your cancer story is incredible. I'm going to ask you a little bit about that later on, because you're doing really cool stuff creating content, especially short form content.
Yeah.
Space now. Your Instagram is crushing it. We're gonna get into that. But you know, when you were first starting, you know, creating content, your entry video marketing journey, what were those early days like? How did you get better? Did you hire a mentor? Did you get training yourself? How did you begin? What did it look like? How did you evolve?
Man, what a great story to tell that I never get to tell. You know, I always had a video camera in my hand. 9 years old, we under the tree for Christmas, we had a video camera, we had a Nintendo. And I played the Nintendo for about 3 minutes, but I played with the video camera for the rest of my life. And everywhere you go, I mean, these big shoulder mount things, like I mentioned, I was in theater and I was in a comedy troupe where we wrote sketch comedy. And this was like the best times of my life, right? And even now, like on TikTok, I've got 250,000 followers from our sketch comedy channel. That's just me goofing around, right? And this is what I really love to do. So I always had this. Look, I wasn't a filmmaker by any means. I mean, I was just like pointing the camera and shooting, right? But I wasn't a schlub either. So I always kind of had a camera in my hand and a camcorder. And I knew how to manipulate that material, right? Like I knew how to get it edited before anybody else really knew what an editor was. I remember buying, it was a box. I think it was like one of the first products I ever bought on Amazon. Amazon had just branched out from doing books, and now they were doing like small products. And I got this it was a Pinnacle editing set. So you got this editing software, and it came with a green screen, which is in this room to this day. I still have the green screen.
Wow.
And I was doing some incredible stuff. There was a TV show on back in those days. It was like a competition show. It was called like America's Favorite Filmmaker. And it was like these small, you had to do 1 minute shorts. It was a live TV show. It was like a reality TV show. So you get on the show and it's like, okay, guys, here's your prompt. You have to go make a film. And so at the end of the show, I loved the show. It was on for one season. Carrie Fisher was a judge, and I never saw it again. That really inspired me. And so at this time, I'm selling home remodeling, and I'm selling sort of roofing and flooring. And keep in mind, I'm not Captain Gizmo here with a hammer and nails, right? Like I'm building a chicken coop right now in my backyard as part of like our project on self-reliance and doing the family. Look, it's patchwork, man. It's patchwork coming together. So I had to present myself as an expert in home remodeling. And so what I began to do is I got that green screen from Pinnacle, and I would take pictures of myself for flyers that I would make and little phone images that I'd go to a client's house, knock on their door about their windows, right? They were already expecting me. And then I had a presentation for them. I was like, oh, that's a shot of me. And it was like this nice shot of me holding a hammer. And it created this image of like, Owen's the guy. Owen can be trusted, right? And almost, Austin, like people take pictures of Owen while he's holding hammers. That's how reliable he is. And that's how it began. So it went from that. This was during MySpace. So it went from that to creating a MySpace that was like, Builder Owen. And I had all of these different images and GIFs. I had animated GIFs that I made in this in a GIF maker. I wish I could remember the name of the brand, because before Adobe, this brand was like the brand. They had they had a photo editor, and then they had this GIF maker. And I used the GIF maker like a boss, right? So it would be like, me holding the hammer, and then it would fade into, me holding a thing of wood. And it was like this, and it would loop, right? So I put that in my email signature and Started to build PowerPoint presentations. Back in those days, PowerPoint had this slideshow feature where you could put in animations and timings in your PowerPoint, package it as a slideshow, and email it to somebody. When they open it, it plays according to your timings and your transitions and everything. So it's like a video. So I was like storyboarding and making these things in PowerPoint, sending them to clients, doing video presentations, and just cleaning house, dude, just making so much money. So that's kind of how it began. And you know, eventually I went on Judge Judy.
I don't think I knew that. That's awesome.
Okay. So Judge Judy kind of changed everything. So I'm doing all this stuff. Meanwhile, my girlfriend leaves me because I'm a terrible boyfriend, right? And like, if you're listening now, sweetie, like I get it. I was a horrible, horrible guy, you know, like I get it. And I was, she would come into the room, and because I had a whole room in our house that was just a green screen. The green screen was up. I had my computers in there, and I would burn DVDs. I had this whole tech operation in there. But I remember one time I took a computer chair. You know, you could swivel on these things and spin. So I had the green screen behind me, and then I put myself in the chair and kind of like looked at the camera and froze. And then just like using only my feet so that my face and my eyes would move, like I spun myself around. So it's like spinning in the chair, right? So on a green screen. So I take that into the GIF maker and I slow it down and I make like a computer animation of like my head, like turning off, like beep, boop, boop, beep, like profile of Owen video. And she'd come in there and she's like, "What are you doing?" She was like, "Go get a job." Right? And so anyway, it leads to this breakup. I get a call from Judge Judy. They finally convinced me, "Come break up with your girlfriend on national television." No, I don't want to do it. I was like, "It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing." And I'm a professional, you know, and they're like, we'll pay for everything. Like she wins.
We will pay for you to break up with your girlfriend on live.
Yeah. They bribed me, bro, and I took it hook, line, and sinker. I went right for it. And here's what happened. Number one is I got destroyed on national TV in front of my ex-girlfriend and the world. But two other big things happened. Number one is Judge Judy is filmed in a place called Bronson Studios, which is a box in the middle of Los Angeles. It looks terrible. You'd never guess what goes on. And I went in there, and I'm in this big hangar. And I get into this small room, and it's the Judge Judy set, fully lights, costumes, everything. And I'm like, I could do this. I could turn one room of my house into a film station. And that's when the home studio began to evolve. That's when I was like, I'm going to make a home studio, and I'm going to have the best. I'm going to have like a show from my house. That's when like the vision became real. And then two, CBS didn't understand YouTube at that time. So this episode that I did of Judge Judy, it hit the airwaves a few weeks later, and it's on YouTube, and it's going nuts. On 3 or 4 different channels, viral. People love me. Men and women are like, "This guy is hot," reaching out to me. I'm getting emails, "You're hot. You're so hot. Oh my gosh." I'm getting emails from other people, "You're an ass. What you did to that poor girl." You know, my Facebook page is blowing up. To this day, I still have friendships from the people that came from Judge Judy. And we laugh about it. It's so funny. We became friends from Judge Judy. And it's almost like part of the reason we stay friends. Like, it's a fun story. It's like we became friends from this. So I began to see the power of a YouTube video. And how I could see that YouTube was going to become the new television. Like, I only knew of one air date for Judge Judy, but on YouTube, that episode was airing again and again and again. And here's what it did. It kept me relevant. It kept me getting alerts and that dopamine hit of like, oh, and someone responded to you. Oh, and someone responded to you. So I began to make other videos. Like, can I get more people to respond to me? So it's like, anytime I'm successful at any one thing, it's like, can I duplicate that? Can I do it intentionally? Like, fewer moves faster, right? So it's like, can I get this much attention, fewer moves faster on my own without Judge Judy? And I did. And we did that with, again, sketch comedy. That's how I started on YouTube. I was making comedy videos. And I was making these dating videos and these different things. And ultimately, I wanted to make music videos. Was like my dream, you know. And then it's like one day I'm like, you could do better than music videos, right? Like, we could probably a little bit higher than that, and so that's how it started for me. And I started to get on YouTube, and I was playing with sketch comedy videos, but I was also like uploading anytime I did work on my car. I would just upload that. And it was like how to do blah, blah, blah in a car. Those videos went nuts. And so this is the beginning time of YouTube. It's like, man, anything I touch turns to gold. So I began to look for YouTube help, and that's when I found Tim Schmoyer and Daryl Eves. Tim Schmoyer and Daryl Eves became, I'm actually flying out to Tim's place at the end of the month to go spend a week with his family. We're very close. I was just texting Daryl. Daryl runs Vid Summit. He runs The Chosen, like just a brother, and raised $100,000 for my cancer treatment. Like, I met those guys watching YouTube and learning how to do SEO and learning how to make thumbnails, right? And that's, from there, we've never looked back. We have been a part of groundbreaking channels. We have done groundbreaking things, and I feel very privileged to have the type of career that I've had thus far, knowing that, I'm only just beginning. I feel like everything up until last year was an accident. And now I feel like I know what I'm doing. And that's, we're very grateful to be in that position, but there's also this sense of what could we do if we made more noise and broke stuff?
Man, I love that. I resonated so much with that. There's so much to unpack there, so much value. I'm a big fan of Daryl Eves and Tim Schmoyer as well.
Yeah.
Tim for forever. I was thinking about Tim as you were talking about that too, because one thing that he said in his podcast years ago that really stuck with me is like early YouTube, you just had to figure out how to get it off of your camera.
It's been all these codecs, man. Back then there was codecs. Like when I started, it was like the last year of P2 cards. So the SD card is coming out, and it's like, you think it's tough to go from a USB 2 to a USB-C. It's like, what do I do with like the lightning cord switched? And now imagine when all of your card readers and your card editors are all like P2, and you've got to get this new SD thing. No one has it. Best Buy doesn't have it. Their Amazon is not a thing yet in the way it is today. That it was scrappy. And it was authentic, and it was real. And you know what? I feel like YouTube has been very true to that. I see what Ryan Trahan is doing on YouTube, and I absolutely love it. I love what Mr. Beast is doing. I think that Mr. Beast is somewhat of a philanthropist and a showman. We might talk about kids' content and all the things that maybe skew younger about Mr. Beast. But this guy just built like homes and power plants in Africa and made a YouTube video about it. Like that is like, you're never going to see Hollywood do that, and that's what I love about YouTube is and short form video too, is this new beast that all of a sudden we had to turn our cameras 90 degrees. I like it because it's disruptive. And so when short form really started making a scene, we immediately were like, we're going to get in on this because it's different and it's new and it's going to make some people obsolete. Someone is not going to adjust. And it's not like we want that, but we know that there's opportunity in that. We know that most people won't adapt to the marketplace. So we try to adapt early and establish leadership. And I think we've done a good job of that.
Yeah, you absolutely have. That's one of my questions here too is, there's so many amazing YouTube coaches, gurus, whatever you want to call them, right, that are old school, and very few of them, and I've looked up to all these people, very few of them have made that switch personally in their own content to short form. Now, maybe they're coaching people, but I love how early you were on TikTok in particular. You mentioned, the sketch comedy with your family, like real dark humor. I love that. That channel, the Hemsats, is a hilarious TikTok channel. Everybody go check it out. Real dark sketches.
It's funny you call it dark because I didn't think about it, but it is kind of dark. Like we do these skits, and like I love themes. I love doing themes, and I grew up on SNL and Monty Python, and we do this one where like my kids are trying to get my attention at the end. I'm not paying attention, and they're just like, I never loved you, Dad, or, Mom's cheating on you, Dad, or you're not my real father. They just kind of like come out with these like one-liners, and My wife hates it. My wife's like, can you not say that? She's like, I don't want people to think we have that kind of marriage. And it's like, I almost know, guys, mom doesn't like it. This one will be viral, like, but it is kind of dark humor. It is a little twisted. And I feel like I did a stand-up comedy routine in a very private community a couple months ago. And it was very scripted and it was very fine. It was fine. But I sometimes wonder what would happen if I were to just like get a microphone and just like kind of like Owen Video unplugged comedy, like what might come out of that. But it is it's a little bit dark humor, and I think it's fun that you noticed that.
No, I love it, man. But what was that pivot like for you? Because you were doing long form for a long time before short form really became relevant and a thing. Was it difficult for you to adapt to a shorter format and vertical, just cutting off the sides of the frames and filming in an entirely new aspect ratio? What was that like?
Yeah, it's great question. It's so experimental at first because you're like, with short form, there's also like a cut, right? It's like scene 1, scene 2. There isn't a lot of pan and scan. There's not a lot of tilts and pivots of the camera, whereas with long form we do a lot of that, right? Like you'll kind of scan the room or go left to right. So with vertical, you're in this limited space, which I feel is where genius comes, right? Like when the Apollo 13 astronauts or the staff had to create a breathing tube, right? It was a square peg in a round hole using only these supplies. Like that limitation, it's also a guitar practice. I play a little guitar, and it's like when you're soloing, it's try to limit yourself, right? Like when you're soloing, try to stay only on these 3 frets and see what your brain does in that type of limited space. So I loved the challenges that vertical provided. And in the beginning, we were experimenting a lot with like we were some of the first to do these green screen backgrounds, right? Which everyone does now. But we did them the green screen way at first, where we filmed in front of a green screen, edited it out, and then kind of dialed in the variance and whatnot to get rid of the purple glow and all those things. So we were doing it the right way. We got a so-so response from it. Like ultimately, you publish and you gauge, right? So it's like we publish and it's like, did those results really warrant all the work we did? No, I think next time we could just maybe blur the background or make it nondescript and we get the same result. I don't think people cared. But fast forward 2 years, now green screen is built into all the platforms and everyone's doing green screen. Like there's a blog behind them. There's an image behind them. There's a meme behind them. And even Remix on YouTube is a green screen feature by its very nature. So that's where we've been pioneers, is like it's a lot of experimenting and it's a lot of like what works. When something works, like we did these they're called silos, and you and I have talked about this at length about like making videos that are a part of a theme that people binge watch, and they create brand. And like you did useful websites, right? So it's like 5 useful, 5 most useful for this person, useful for that person. You develop a brand and a theme, and that's important, right? So we noticed that I did a video of my son showing me a skate trick. I was looking at my phone, and he goes, "You're not my real father." So I'm like, let's do another one where we duplicate, where my kid watches me, or same thing, he does something, Dad, look at me, right? Because anybody with kids knows, Mad TV did this a lot with Stuart, right? Stuart was like, look at me, look. And he just like does nothing, and the parents are like, oh my God. So the kids are like this. Kids are like, Dad, look at me. And awesome. You know what I mean? It's great. I got to go back to my work now. So my kid does this thing, and then I won't look, and then he'll make a snarky comment. So in that one, I had a red party cup. And at the end of it, he goes, "You drink too much." It's like, "Dad, look at me." And I'm like, "That's great, son." He's like, "You drink too much." And that one did extremely well. So it was like, it duplicates, and now you've got a pattern. So it's like, only do those videos now, right? Do those videos so you build a theme, and then the other 10%, you're experimenting with new themes. So in the beginning, it was a lot of experimentation and a lot of we don't know what works, so let's do what we want. And I feel like that's the joy, I think, of short form, is that there's not a long memory span. Short form is not always a subscriber getter. Now on Instagram, short form is dude, I'll get 300 people in a day following me because of a reel, right? So you got to know kind of the nuances where it's like, I know that same reel, it may perform on YouTube, but it will perform in a different way. It's not going to get 100,000 or 300,000 views necessarily. It might, but it's probably not going to bring in subscribers the same way. And so now you're kind of like, all right, now I want to do shorts that bring in subscribers. And what does that look like? And should that go on Instagram? Right? Versus this works on Instagram and YouTube, but in different ways. And I'm going to accept those results, continue to cross-post those. But these other ones, I'm just going to do on YouTube, right? Like that's the part of shorts that I think is where we're in now, is that we've got all these different proven models, and now it's about using each model the right way. So for example, we do memes once a week, and our meme system is legit, right? They don't always win, but we think of it like investing, right? If you put $10,000 into Bitcoin, right? You're not going to lose that money, right? It's the chances of that being worth less than what you put in, it's very, very rare. You might go through cycles. We get that. Same with the stock market. If you put it in the S&P 500, in 10 years, that 10 grand will be worth more, right? It's the same with YouTube videos, right? Like even if a video performs poorly, it's still added views and watch time, right? So now there are exceptions. There are those times where it's like, hey, that video makes you look stupid, or it makes you look, whatever, like pull that down, or it makes you look dumb and it didn't perform, let's pull it off. Or it didn't perform and it's a little off topic for you, let's pull it off, right? It's understanding that part of the game that I really love right now, and intentionally doing something that gets a result, because now we're in a place of high predictability. And so that's how it started. It started a lot of experimentation and doing what we want. Now we're kind of like, we know what works a little bit, and so we just have to find the thing that works for us. Like with memes, I was saying, we do a meme every week. They don't always blow up, but they're easy. They always add views. We can keep it on brand. And so, the reels I think nothing about, those will still get 22,000 views. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's where you guys want to be. You want to be in a place where like your big reels are pulling in 400,000, but then you're doing these small ones that are just like 20,000, 50,000 without it, because people just love you. So they're just going to watch it anyway.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think, all boats sort of rise with the tide. Like as you're creating short form content, right? It increases that bottom line view. Like I've said this a lot, particularly about TikTok. Like when people first get started, they hit that 250, 300 view threshold, and they can't get out of that bubble, right? It's that first thing. But when you start to figure out what type of content is performing exceptionally better, it increases that bottom line. Maybe that 250 goes up to 2,500 because you've had these other videos, right? And so you're still reaching, more and more people. Those topics might be important to you, but they might not be as high of performers. But by doing more of the content that's working, you're naturally just going to rise that bottom line up these other topics as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point that you just made, especially regarding the bubble. The bubble is real. Our thing is like, you get 1,000 views on a video, brand new channel, you get 1,000 views 3 times, and then you're no longer satisfied with 1,000 views.
Yeah.
You get it 3 times. You hit the bullseye 3 times, but now you can no longer be satisfied with 1,000 views. And I lost a client on this one. When I say I lost the client, what I mean is like, I couldn't get him to really believe in what we were doing, right? He became very happy with 1,000 views per video. And it's like, but now we want to get 10,000. And that's the other thing that you brought up, is like going from 250 to 2,500 is just as easy as going from 250 to 350.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What we do, though, is we think that we're worth less than what the market can bear. So we start to do this kind of like, I'll be happy. I'll be happy. This is what I heard. I don't need a lot of views. I want the right kind of views. It's like, hey, man, I believe that there's 10,000 of the right kind of views today. So, let's just focus on getting those views. Let's not, I only need 155 to feel, no, not acceptable. You got to dream bigger.
100%. I want to dive a little bit more tactical now, because you're such an amazing business coach. You're business focused, you're revenue and generation focused. I love that you've done it for yourself. You practice what you preach. Is just one of the big reasons why I respect you so much in that and the long game. When you're crafting a short form content strategy for a business owner, what does that look like? And even dive a little deeper into the funnel. How are you leveraging?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Let's talk about this. My favorite conversation is the funnel, because the funnel pulled me out of poverty, guys. Like, video made me enjoy the process, but the funnel pulled me out of poverty. And here's my proof of that is, like, I was making videos on SEO and website design because that was what the business I had was doing, right? I was kind of like a local marketer. Keep in mind, like, I was taking pictures of myself and whatnot, and now I'm doing it for myself. Like, I'll take pictures of your roofing company. I'll take, that's kind of what I'm doing at this time. And I'm making these videos about, how to build a website and why we're going to use these images on your homepage and how we remove the background. And I get this phone call from a guy, and he's very just kind of like brash. And he's like, hey, you Owen? Yeah, this is Owen. I want to do your website thing. And what he meant was a website silo. It was a 5-page website that we had offered on YouTube. I want to do your website thing. I was like, what do you mean? Oh, yes, you found me on YouTube? He goes, yeah, your video's great. He said, but you had no phone number. You had no website link. He's like, I had to go and Google you to find you. And we did a deal on a website. It's $5,000 right there from a phone call. My life changed forever. So it's like, I immediately went and got optimized Press 2 before ClickFunnels came out. Yeah. And I built a landing page funnel. And then I went back to all my old videos. I used TubeBuddy, Phil over at TubeBuddy, who designed that tool. He's since sold it, but he's right down the street from me. And so he's like, hey, you can go and put this link in all your past videos with this one feature. And so I did that. And Austin, all of a sudden the sales started coming in. And for a guy like me who grew up very working class, very much like, I did go to college, but I was very much like told, like, you're not going to go to college, right? That's the home I grew up in, right? So I'm like, this is insane. Like, this kind of money is insane. So the funnel is key, right? So what's the funnel? The funnel is your offer, right? Like, your videos get people interested in you, and then your offer turns them into money, right? This is where there's big YouTubers I know and love right now. I would never say their names, but it's like, you are leaving so much money on the table because you're focusing on sweatshirts and hats. Like, that is low-hanging fruit. I could go make a sweater that says what your sweater says without your permission at all, right? And so what am I getting at is, you need to have an offer that converts people into a sale. Because if you are not doing that, then you are leaving money on the table. And you know who's getting it? YouTube's getting it. Because they're going to pay someone else. They're either going to pay you, they're going to pay someone else, right? Like, you need to turn video into a monetization. So what's your offer? And then you've got to be able to connect your videos to the offer in some way, shape, or form. And this is why I love video, because you can go out fishing and my goal today is to get 5 big fish, okay? 5 big fish is my goal today, 5 customers. But I'm going to put 25 hooks in the water because I don't know which hook's going to bring the fish in. And this is the same with video. You put 25 shorts out there because you're not sure which one's going to bring the customers in. When you find out, then you make more of those, right? You double down on that. So we want to have a strategy that does 3 things. Number 1 is we want a collection of shorts that establish us as the industry thought leader on the subject. And these shorts, they're going to be highly specific. We don't tend to think of these as viral opportunities. We tend to think of these as the lower view videos, but here's our standard is you need to be proud of it, and it needs to reflect what you do. And the purpose of these ultimately is going to be nurturing, but we need YouTube and viewers to look at your site as a resource for these things. 2 is we need we need shorts that will bring in new audiences. Okay. And this is the trap of subscribers. When you build a YouTube channel, as I did, we got to maybe 25,000 subscribers on mostly YouTube and, website and SEO videos. We then began to transfer into a video marketing company because I was like, I don't want to make websites anymore, right? But the funnel, you can't avoid the funnel. The first question we ask everybody is, what's your YouTube channel? The second question we ask them is, what's your offer? Because we need to know that you've got an offer that at least is that you have one, and then we'll make videos for it. Okay, so you get stuck into this, right? Because you built, all my audience is all website people. They've all heard my pitch before. They've all either said yes or no, right? So we need new audiences now. Well, how do you do that? Well, look, let's get honest. You guys want to hear something? I want more Black audience. Boom. Go get you some Black audience. How do you do that? Like other African-American co-hosts, collab with other Black YouTubers, right? Like you now develop strategy to do that because you want to have, you want to have a more diverse customer base. And I think that's very noble and admirable. And sometimes in this culture, you can't say things like that, but it's true, right? We have whole clients, brands that are like, we need to diversify our customer base. But you have to think about your new audiences. So we brought up that one, but how about more Christians? I want more faith-driven people in my audience, right? So now what you're doing is you're creating a series of shorts. It's never one short. It's always a series. How big the series is, it could be 6, 7, it could be 10 or 12, right? Like you kind of go till the air's out, I think. It's still working. It's still working. It's working less. It's working less. It's working less. Okay, let's stop. Let's find something new. But you're doing this strategy where now you're like, I have a strategy for bringing in wealthier business owners. Like we want to bring in a wealthier demographic, right? So now you have to stop talking about price. Now you got to do videos that talk about image and legacy, and you're kind of focusing on that angle, right? So that's part 2. And then part 3 is you've got to have conversion shorts. You've got to have these shorts that are like, the whole purpose of this short is to tease and get them into something, right? Tease and get them into something. So I love link in bio stuff. I love it. I think it works on YouTube and I think it works on Instagram, and YouTube even changed their channels to look more like an Instagram channel with a link in bio. And so I think my page is Owen Videos / link in bio. We use the term link in bio. Now, I know a lot of people are doing these Instagram chatbots right now. I personally do not like them.
Okay.
But I'm not against them, right? I just personally, because here's my problem with it is like, no matter what I comment, I didn't comment flower. I commented, hey bro, great to see you. And I'm still getting your messages, right? I really love link in bio. And I also love private DMs, guys. Like, you want to know a big secret for me? And it's hard because I have a staff. So I can create response and I can have my staff attend to it. I get huge response from saying like, leave me a thumbs up or comment below. But it's not a chatbot. I do it. So what happens is I'm getting personal conversations now. And my staff is doing those personal conversations. Oh, and I don't have time. And I would get so much response. That's the point. So now your team, first of all, your customers can respond. They're responding with your brand, right? So even though it's a team member, it's still your brand. And they feel, we get so many compliments, dude, from the people that meet Lisa, and then they compliment me to Lisa. Well, I just think Owen's the coolest thing, and And then it's like, hey, would you be willing to like give us a testimonial for that? You know what I mean? Like, you get so much gold for this. You're conversating with people, creating that human touch, which we are so key on in being an AI-driven company with a human touch. But you will get more response from that now turns into your 15-minute discovery calls, right? Your team kind of qualifies, oh, you should talk to Owen, and then boom, I'm closing sales from that. So, we did this, 2 weeks ago, boom, what was it? I want to say it's a $35,000 sale. That's our program. Our program is kind of up in that range. And that, like, it came from a reel with a call to respond. But here's why I say leave me a thumbs up, because now I can go see who left a thumbs up, and I just systematically go after them and be like, hey, you left a thumbs up. Did you want to know more about my thing? Hey, I left a thumbs up. Here's the link to my thing. Hey, and it gives you a lead list of people to talk to. So now my team has objectives. You got to go respond to everyone who said this and this and this on the thing. So those are the three types. And we could go into it like a little bit deeper. You really got to know, like, you're like on Instagram, it's your replay time. Like, how many people watched it more than once? Like, that's key, right? Did you make a loopable video, or did you put an Easter egg in it? So key. So key. When you started posting about Elon Musk nudes, I was like, he's saying the quiet part out loud.
That single Easter egg hack has exponentially skyrocketed. That just one simple thing in a format of content that otherwise I was doing and having good engagement, good reviews and reach, just implementing little recurring Easter eggs, insider jokes.
Yeah.
Made all the difference.
People, and it builds a brand, right? Like, this is part of the, like, what a silo is. That show Psych. Did you ever watch that show Psych?
Yes, I watched the first season when it first came out. I didn't stick with it. I know.
You know the pineapple story with Psych? So every episode of Psych has a pineapple in it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I have seen probably 3 episodes of the show, so it never grabbed me. But I saw a guy, I know the pineapple thing. I saw a guy wearing a shirt the other day, had a pineapple on it, and underneath it said Psych. And I'm like, he knows the joke. So you build this brand, this subculture, and this is all laid out in Patrick Hanlon's book, Primal Branding. He talks about this kind of thing. Like, the Easter eggs became a part of Austin's videos. So now I'm watching this just to find the Easter egg.
Yep. Yeah. Going back to Tim Schmoyer, I learned about Primal Branding from him.
Yes.
Love that book. Oh my gosh. He used to preach about that book in every podcast episode. Pretty much.
He brought him out to VidSummit. VidSummit 2, where I was a speaker, the second VidSummit. We're now on the 11th VidSummit. Patrick Hanlon was there, and I got a picture with him. I got to interview him. And he said, it's so funny to meet these authors because we're kind of extroverts, but these authors maybe aren't always.
Yeah.
But it was Primal Branding became a big part of our maturity.
Yeah.
In going from like filmmaking and emotion. I came from news. So I went back to college when I was 30. I had already kind of done my MySpace. I was already on Facebook, and I was like, I want to be a better marketer. So YouTube was not the robust place it is now. It was cat videos and the evolution of Dance Guy.
Yeah.
And then some of our videos from website and SEO. But I went back to college and I got my degree in media composition, and it was mostly about like the news media and how to do TV spots. I was really interested in TV. I love sitcoms. I love sketch comedy, SNL, like that sort of thing. What they don't teach you about is building brand. They teach you about edit here and cut here and turn the music down to -6 and the technical side, but they can't teach you persuasion. They can't teach you influence. And that's what we learn at places like VidSummit. And that's like some of like the concrete skills that you pick up just from getting in the ring every day. And that, I think, is such an important point about video.
So good. Man, I feel like we're just scratching the surface. I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours, but believe it or not, we're already an hour into this.
Wow.
Well, I want to kind of wind down here a little bit. Maybe I'll bring you back on for part 2 sometime. We'll dive deeper. There's so many questions that I didn't even get to ask. But I know you have an awesome YouTube Shorts blueprint as well. I want to quickly ask you about that and how people can contact you. I'm going to have the link to the blueprint in the show notes of this episode as well. But what goes into that? Why should people get that blueprint? How can you best help them? And how can they contact you?
I'm really glad you asked me that, because not everybody's good on video, right? Like not everybody's good on video, and not everybody can see what goes into a video. And so our goal as coaches is to make it stupid simple for you, right? Like Sara Lee, the baking company, right? They used to have recipe books, right? Well, I remember being a kid, there was recipe books, but you had to buy the flour, the sugar, the eggs, Now what does Sara Lee do? They give you a little kit, and it's everything in the kit to make a single serving of cake, right? So we try to make kits. We try to make like, hey, if you know nothing, just do this and watch the results. And so that's what our shorts blueprint is all about, is how do we make shorts accessible to anyone regardless of skill? Now, if you have skill, you'll be able to take these and apply your personality to it and internalize it in a way that could really create a lot of momentum for you. But my shorts template, what it does is it gives you a framework for doing shorts, multiple shorts at one time, where we believe shorts of this style should go on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok. And the reason that we believe that is because you really don't know where one is going to blow up, right? Like maybe they all do 300 views and you're like, oh, it didn't work. And then 2 weeks later, it gets 10,000 views on TikTok. You know what I mean? Like you want to cover your ground. And so you have to be careful with what I think you should be, because you want to build a brand. So here's what our process is. Now, I won't go through all of it because I want you to get the download. So I'm not going to tell you about how to pick the topics, right? That's something that's I'm going to leave in the blueprint. But let me tell you this. You're going to come to the table with a series of pre-written questions that you're going to have AI help develop for you, so that you know that these videos will get viewed. And then what we want to work on is a 3-part strategy. There's actually 2 other parts in there that I'm gonna leave. We kind of mentioned Easter eggs. That's a little bit of it. It's you've got to add something in there that makes it worth watching. But what are your 3 essential components? Number 1 is your opening line. Stop babbling. Your opening line, you have exactly 2 seconds to catch my attention. Okay? So I need your opening line to be the most stunning thing that you're talking about. I watch these videos, and the first thing I hear is, yeah, I'd love to talk about that. Oh my gosh, it started a few years back when, well, you were there. Man, what would you say? Oh yeah, that was the time I sold my horse for $1. And it's like, dude, move. That was the time I sold my horse for $1. Up to the front. Cut out all the babbling. But we try to say, oh, I want you to come in on the conversation. Like you won't know what I'm talking about. That's the whole point. I don't know. When you say this horse, I don't know what you're talking about. Your very first sentence has to be compelling. So what a lot of people do is they'll record a short and they'll go back and watch it and they find the golden nugget and they put it towards the beginning. What we teach is you premeditate your opening line and build your short around it. So the very first thing you say should be interesting, right? It's number 1. So open with, that horse will never walk again. Let me tell you what I mean by that. You know, I was working with my friend. We were making videos, and you know what I mean? Like now you're retracting and you've got exactly 5 more seconds to keep them there.
Yeah.
So you got to open with the killer line. And then you have to go into mic dropping content. You cannot save your best for last. You must save your best for first, right?
Love that.
You've got to come in here with 2 or 3 points that you immediately get into, right? Like, that was the ugliest horse I had ever eaten. Let me tell you what I mean by that. See, I'm a digital marketer, and there are 3 rules that we follow to grow every client we work with. So now you've got this. Now I'm making up the hook, but you got to have to kind of come back to it, you know, at the end. But the idea is that this content in the middle, it's not fluff, and you're not building up to a crescendo. You actually start with the crescendo. You actually start with the climax piece, and then you take them downhill from there. The last part of this, now there's a little note, you guys will see this in the blueprint, about like, can you add a blooper? Can you add a thing to the middle, a joke? This is where you can add a little conversation piece, right? Know what I mean? Oh, totally, bro. I know what you mean. Great. Like you can add that a little bit in the middle. Like once you've got them halfway through, we try to do something to just get them on for 3 more seconds.
Mm-hmm.
This is watch time creeps is what we call it. Just like get them to creep up on the watch time a little bit. You know, like we ended a reel with blackness that we let last like 1 extra second longer, just because some people will watch it. And why not? 1 second times 100,000 views. That's hours of blackness people watch because I asked them to. You know what I mean? So I feel like Smithers a little bit, like when I'm like blacking out the sun, it's like, excellent. Yeah. But when you end the video, you end it with a call to action, and that call to action should be very specific and very natural. Like you're not talking to them, but that you're talking to the person you're talking to.
Yeah.
And what I think you should do is just tell people what you do, right? So it's just like, now I do real estate content, so that's what you're going to hear from me on this channel, right? It's kind of how you end it. Or that way someone goes, oh, okay, you're real estate, I'll follow you, right? And they hear this over and over and over again. You could say, now I got a whole free guide on this, click my link in bio to check it out. You could do something like that. That feels a little bit more salesy, you know what I mean? But we had a client who did a reel that was like textbook. Like we told her exactly what to do. College football town. She's a real estate agent. Big football news. Go cover that news. She did. She got 90,000 views on the video. Forgot to mention she was Alabama's favorite real estate agent. Yeah.
Womp.
Yeah. And she got those 90,000 views on, it's like in 3 hours. So because she told me, she's like, I forgot to mention the real estate thing. And I was like, well, let's see if it takes off. 3 hours later, it's 90,000. But that's why we have formats. That's why we have a blueprint. It's like, do this every time because you don't know which one's going to blow up. And you want to make sure that you get those characteristics in there, those that CTA in there. And that's for a business owner, right? Like we've got YouTuber friends that maybe aren't as needy to get a CTA in there. They just want people to watch it like it's a skit, I get that, but those are rare exceptions. I think that everybody else, you need to think about, how am I going to profit on this so that I can keep doing it? Right? I think that there's sometimes as creatives, we get into this place where I do it for the art, and it's like, you got to do it for the ROI. Like I'm all about the art too, but there are sometimes where Michelangelo just had to paint the damn fence, man. Like you don't think Da Vinci ever got like, draw me like the Lady of Dupuy wants you to draw her a picture of thy cat. You don't think he was ever like, oh, these peasants. But he drew the picture of the cat and he got the 10 grand, right? So there's times where you just gotta do the work and eke it out. You know what I mean? Knowing that when you have a chance to do the work for the work's sake, that's a blessing, and that should be honored, with your time and attention for sure.
So good. That blueprint sounds amazing. As you're talking through it, I'm like, whoa, that's the perfect explanation of my content that has worked so well, right? Like, these 5 websites feel illegal to know, right? So strong opening hook. And then I'm delivering value throughout, and I'm reacting.
This one does this. Yeah. That one does that. And then you even break it up like, this one has value. And then pattern interrupt. Whoa, are you serious? It's so good. It's so simple and yet so psychologically astute. There's so much to be said about just copy and paste the excellence, right? Like, go find someone who's doing it excellent and then make your version.
100%. Oh, and this was so valuable, brother. So many value bombs. Learned so much about you that I had no idea about before, even deeper respect than I already had for you. If people want to get in contact with you, they want to follow you to learn more, what are your social media handles? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, go get my blueprint at owenvideo.com/shorts. owenvideo.com/shorts. I've got a blueprint there, and the email response that we'll give you will have links to follow us. But I'm everywhere on the web at Owen Video, and I've got a cancer channel that is crushing reels. In fact, all of the reels training we do is based on what we learn on this channel, and that's at Cancer Fighter Owen. Look for me there. And again, you'll hear my cancer story. That's what we talk about. But you'll also get a chance to see some of we're in the top 1 to 3% of reels over there. So it's good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. This is so good. I'm going to have all of these links and channel URLs in the show notes of this episode. Check those out. If you learned something today, which I'm positive you did, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, whatever your favorite podcast platform is. Send me an email, austin@socialtypro.com, if you want to be a guest, you have any guest ideas, you want to sponsor the show. And until next time, friends, I'll see ya. Thank you for listening to another episode of Business Talk. If you feel like you're ready to get started on TikTok, I have a completely free TikTok checklist that you can find in the show notes and description of this episode. If you found this episode inspiring, consider leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes or your favorite podcast listening platform. I know that's a lot to ask of you, but it really does help the podcast reach more people. Do you have any feedback about the show or a guest you'd like to recommend? Email me at podcast@socialtypro.com. Until next time.